To speak a little bit about maybe habits, stress, bad routines, bad habits, and bad pathways, and good pathways, and all of that. Maybe a little bit about that. See what you all might be interested in. I'll try keeping it to 5 minutes, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. Anyhow, so habits are formed. I mean, this Atomic Habits mentions habits are formed because of a problem. You have a problem, and the solution is the habit that you create for yourself. So let's say when you're starting something new, or you're in a new environment, or whatever, your brain is working extra quick, and it's in a really it's working. It's in a very hyper mood or whatever, and it tries finding the right solution for the problem. And when it finds a solution, then it slowly, after you get used to it, then it will put it to the back of your mind. It'll put it to the subconscious, and then you could go on to the more urgent problems that exist and take care of them. That's the idea. And then you form habits slowly, and then sometimes even forget that you have a habit, and you don't know what's going on. You don't even realize you have a habit, and other people see this habit on you that looks very strange, and that could happen to anyone. So of course, habits could be good and could be bad. A lot of times bad habits happen more easily and more quickly because they're more tempting, the cue is more obvious, and things like that. A lot of times, whatever the case is. But let's say, for example, stress. So stress creates habits. So let's say smoking or drinking a lot of coffee or whatever it is. It could create those type of habits, which you'd have to decide if they're good or bad. I would say certainly smoking is bad. And let's say watching a lot on the phone. All of this is, let's say, if it's stress, to get out of your worries and things like that is stress, and try, focusing on just putting your brain into something else. So it's basically, I would say, it's a little bit like, your brain forms a path, and you have the future, your future self and your past self, and your stress is combined with the past and the future, and your ambition and aspirations and all of that. So you have a lot of debt, or you want to become someone great, and you're not actually managing. And of course, this could form a lot of times, and this is one thing that I'd like to focus on a little bit, is not being focused on the present, but being focused always on what's going to be, what will I do, what's going to happen, or your past also, and not being the present, which could really help for this. But just we have to understand that it's like it creates also you could call it neurologic pathways in your brain, and it could sometimes become harder and harder to get out. The longer you're in a habit, the harder it is to get out of it. And it could create a whole chain of habits, of bad habits or whatever it is. And you could almost like it to certain situations, depending how bad it gets. You could get down, you feel like you're almost going down a tunnel or a funnel of bad habits. And it makes it very hard to get out of that routine and chain, and you need things to stop you and to think and to be able to get out of this chain. So now I would say a lot of times for some people, sleep could help. Always in the day, when you wake up in the morning, that's a moment where you could decide which direction your day is going. And if you just think a minute and start your day on the right foot. And let's say, for example, instead of picking up your phone and looking at it first, read something or do something, healthy. I don't know, go outside and look at the sky, speak to Hashem or whatever it is. Something like that. Just look at realize the existence that's around you. Maybe I'm just giving an example. Don't do a bad routine. Start with something good. That could help you already feel better and start being able to change. Now, focusing on the now, I would say there's more to it. And so I would say one thing about that would be interesting is that, observing yourself, and this Atomic Habits also mentioned, also other books mention, observing yourself without judging, bad habits, good habits, or anything that you do without judging, but observing yourself, not as yourself doing it, but just as someone else doing something. That way you're out of your own emotions almost, and out of your own, now you think that's becoming less a person, out of your emotions and all of that. That's not what we mean by this, but it means to be able to take things more calmly and all of that, and to look at it as if it doesn't affect you either way. Not try convincing yourself that it doesn't affect you either way, but look at it as if you don't feel it affecting you either way. Look at it from above almost. Like, look at what you're doing. Let's say you're about to, I don't know, pick up your phone. Look at it. Don't judge or anything like that. Observe it. You want to understand. You can't understand something until you observe it objectively. If you're going to observe it within yourself, you're not going to understand yourself. It's impossible. That's why in a lot of these subjects, it's easier for other people to understand you than it is for yourself. So that's very important. And also, of course, you could do certain things like, to just actually focus on the now, like, breathing in and out. Say what you're actually doing right now. I'm breathing. I don't know, I'm touching my legs. I'm touching the ground, or I'm lying down on the ground, or whatever it is. I'm looking up at the sky. I'm looking up at this great creation, or things like that. So realizing what you're doing in the moment, that's very important. And not thinking of it through a mental neurological pathway that is linked with the future and the past, but just recognizing the moment. And a lot of people say that it's almost not the brain, that you have to try getting out of the brain. This is almost shutting off the brain in a lot of ways. That I would have to go in more depth and try and looking into it a little bit more before I could get an idea of this. But it's certainly clear that the knowledge that Hashem gives us, a certain knowledge, much more infinite knowledge, and we channel it through our brain, but there is much more out there. And so that's about it. I'd also say on habits, so there's 4 parts of the habit: the cue, the craving, response, and reward. The cue is like the trigger. Let's say a simple example, the phone. So your phone rings or dings or whatever it is, and sorry, I don't know if I said the craving, the cue, craving, response, reward, not cue, trigger. The cue is the trigger. Then the craving is that you want to see your message on the phone or whatever it is. Response is that you actually do look at the message. And reward. So the reward is what satisfies the craving, and this craving that you had for looking at the message basically was satisfied by the reward. But anyhow, so the idea is when you want to make good habits, you want to make the cue obvious, very obvious. You want to make the craving also accessible. You want to make the response easy and the reward good. So that's a way to create good habits. And the way you want to, how to break bad habits is the opposite, to make the cue hard to find. The craving also not desirable, and the reward too hard to get to, and the response out of hand, and the reward not good enough, not worth it. Okay, that's it. That's all I have to say for right now. I hope you enjoyed. I'm gonna bring more topics hopefully in the next video, maybe next week.